Have you ever looked back at like an old photo or an old video, or even just thought back to an old memory, and when you did, you started to recoil with cringe? Does that ever happen to you? Because that's exactly what we're doing today. As you can hear, I'm a little under the weather, and so instead of rambling on for 20 or so minutes, I thought it might be kind of fun to do something retrospective, to go back and take a look at the early days of the podcast when it was still named A Medic's Mind, and kind of see how things progressed from then to now. And I feel like taking you along with me is probably the best way to do that. So that's what we're going to do on this episode. Let's talk about it. This is Unwritten Chapters, a podcast about the stories we don't always tell out loud. From life on the front lines as a paramedic and military veteran to wrestling with trauma, addiction, and recovery, and the strange beauty of just being human. This is raw, honest conversation about the messy parts of life that shape us. If you're ready for truth without a filter, well, then you are in the right place. Let's get into it. Hey, a quick note before we dive in. My new book, Trauma and Tea, Essays on Trauma, Recovery, and Growing Up the Hard Way, lands February 3rd, 2026. It's a collection of essays about trauma, addiction, grief, and the strange dark humor that sneaks in while you're trying to heal. It's also a love letter to growing up in the 90s, when Saturday morning cartoons, mixtapes, video rentals, and streetlights coming on told us that it was time to go home. If this show has ever helped you feel less alone, the book is more of that, only on paper. Pre-orders are available now on Indigo, Barnes & Noble, and wherever else you get your books. Thank you for being here, and now let's get on to the episode. Hey, and welcome back. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Unwritten Chapters, the podcast. So this idea came to me This idea came to me from a really dear person in my life. Her name is Janet. Not going to tell you how I know her. Just assume that I do, because I do. And she gave me this idea and said, you know, it'd be kind of cool if you went back and looked at your old episodes to see how far you've come. And she wasn't just referring to as a podcaster. She meant like in general, sort of as just a look as to how far I myself personally have grown. And I thought that'd be a really cool thing to tie into the Unwritten Chapters motif. So we're going to go and take a look at some episodes here. I did find an episode here that I want to take a listen to called The Book Signing. This is episode 2. It's from November 3rd, 2018. It's about 20 minutes long. And we're going to play it, take a listen here, see how it goes. This is the old intro that I used to have. It was a little guitar that I found online that was royalty free. And I remember playing, I loved it. I loved the little guitar thing. The thing is, I let this thing play on for like a minute and a half.
Hello, everybody. And welcome to episode 2 of A Medic's Mind.
Listen to that microphone, huh? Whew.
It has been a day. It started off less than desirable, morphed and evolved into something truly remarkable, beautiful, and memorable, and hopefully will end much the same. Let me tell you about it on this episode of A Medic's Mind.
I don't know if my intros have gotten any better, to be honest. I feel like they're pretty much the same, but see, still going. It's still going. The intro is still going. What are we at here? Like a minute and something? Oh, it doesn't actually tell me here. But anyway. Yeah, and the microphone. Oh boy. You guys hear that? The tinny microphone that I was using?
It's one of those people who got to tell their story. They saw fit to include my story in this incredible collection. This amazing anthology. And that is surreal. and being able to sign my name above my story for somebody who wants to read it, that is mind-blowing.
I feel like my first microphone was a potato plugged into an XLR cable. And that was my first microphone. Also, what's with my speaking cadence? That is incredible. I sound like I'm William Shatner podcasting. Good God, Spock, there's so much to say.
You see, I don't really think that I have a whole lot to say. And I know that sounds ironic considering I have a blog and now a podcast.
That's not why it's ironic. Yesteryear, Matt. Maybe I made it ironic. Okay, so go back here. So that's episode 2. That was in November of 2018. That's something else. Can't sleep. This should be a good. What is this? E. Oh, it's explicit. That's hilarious. I have an explicit rating here. Okay, that's. This one might be spicy, guys. Let's see what happens. Oh yeah, there's the. I'm gonna take us forward a bit. Day, kind of just moping around. So I told myself, no, you gotta go out. So I thought, I might walk to Tim Hortons and get a tea, and then come back. But the thing about walking in the middle of it, there's like this subtle like hum that's just throughout that whole recording of electrical wires just crossed over one another. City at 10:30. I think my gain was up too high too. Night is that even though I live in a good area, it's not a derelict area. It's not a ghetto area. It's not like an area that you really typically need to worry about. It's still a city, and people are still people. So I actually remember this episode vividly. Actually, this episode took place at like 1 a.m. So this episode was on November 8th, 2018. So a couple days after the first one there. I remember this is, for those of you that don't know, I went to rehab in the summer of 2018 for alcohol addiction and trauma related ailments. And I graduated from that program in September of 2018, closer to October. And so this time frame, this November 2018, this is like fresh out of rehab, Matthew. And I used to use alcohol to sleep because it would help me just pass out, and also it would kind of keep dreams away, which was part of the reason why I was drinking. So it was kind of snake eating its own tail prophecy. Anyway, this is my first couple of months without booze or without pills or without anything to try and sleep. So I remember being unable to sleep, feeling really depressed, feeling really down, and using the podcast as a way to maybe feel less crazy, instead of just like speaking to yourself, you feel like you're almost speaking to someone. Which, by the way, guys, thank you. For those of you that have been on this podcast journey with me for a while, thank you for sticking with me, and thank you for creating the community that you have, because it really does mean a great deal to me. It is truly something special, and I am so unbelievably grateful to you guys for it. So thank you very much. It's all I can say is thank you. Because nights like this, these were the tough ones, man. These were hard to battle through, but obviously I'm sitting here now doing a retrospective episode talking about these ones, so obviously I did survive. I do worry. It's not like a leisurely stroll for me. I'm constantly scanning intersections, 1 or 2 intersections ahead. If there's I walk up on a residential side too, so there's lots of darkened areas. I'm constantly looking out of the corner of my eye because you get better night vision out of your peripheries than you do by looking straight ahead. So I'm constantly looking on periphery above depression, some superiority above depression. It really wasn't there for me. Not sure why the explicit rating is there, but we'll go up here. So that was 2018. Let's go up to 2019 and take a quick listen here and see. Okay, here's 2019. Year in review. That sounds like a decent one. Let's do that. Year in review. This is January 2nd, 2019. Yep. There. Yep.
Things, too many demons that I wasn't.
I got a new microphone for Christmas. You can hear it immediately.
Dealing with, and in having.
That's not so bad. It's kind of boomy. I think it's my first condenser mic. I think that was the Audio-Technica 2020. I think that was.
In having the bottle in my hand, I was doomed to fail.
Although I do sound like I'm talking with a clothespin attached to my nose, which is ironic that I'm saying that right now to you. But
I wasn't doing myself any favors. Life wasn't conspiring against me. I just wasn't tackling.
That's exactly what it sounds like.
Enough to be able to succeed.
And
so I felt like life was, stacking up against me, and it's an easy mindset to get in, is to victimize yourself and say, yeah, life is fuck life. This is, why is this happening to me? Blah blah blah. Me personally, whenever things happening that bad things, I would just say, yeah, fucking makes sense. I'm a terrible person, so this makes sense that this would happen to me. That's sort of.
This gives me an idea. I think a year in review episode, an annual year in review episode, is actually not a bad idea. I think it would help me with gratitude is something that I've really leaned into in the years that I've been back in British Columbia. I think it would help me kind of solidify those things. I think it would really help me kind of contextualize the gratitude that I've tried to cultivate day over day, and also kind of help me progress in the year ahead, right? To be a better version of myself in the year ahead. So, I think I'm gonna do that.
And it's not a good mindset to be in. It's certainly not conducive with success. You're not going to go anywhere with that mindset. And I didn't, except down. I went down, and slowly progressed up until that August day that I went into rehab. And so I never really experienced my mother's loss sober, and it is.
Oof, yeah, that's real. Year in review. Okay, I like that. That's decent. Where was that at? That was 2019, right? Yeah, okay. It took me back to 2018. Why did I do that? Year in review. Let's go up ahead a bit here. Let's do another 2019. Social media, recurring nightmare. Don't want to listen to that one. McChicken Down. That's funny. This story is in a medic's mind. It's not called McChicken Down in the book because of copyright reasons, I guess. That's what my publisher said. So yeah, I think it's just called Chicken Burger Down or something. I don't know. Burger Down. I don't know. Anyway, McChicken Down. This is the very first version of it.
This episode of A Medic's Mind is brought to you by Winter Tickle Press, a premier publishing house who specializes in non-fiction mental wellness books based on lived experiences. Titles include Save My Life School, Daily Lessons of Save My Life School, Brainstorm Revolution, and stories Finding Your Wings, all available for order through Chapters Indigo, Barnes & Noble, and Amazon US, UK, and Canada.
Oh my God. That's not a bad
promo. You can
promo.
follow Winter Tickle Press on Facebook at Winter Tickle Press, or find them on Twitter. As it sounds, it's about a McChicken. Some time to listen to this. Please enjoy.
That was one of my story episodes.
McChicken Down. We've all been hit by those late night cravings at some time or another in our lives. And generally, late at night, there is rarely a healthy selection to choose from. Thus, the Golden Arches, McDonald's, Rotten Ronnie's, McD's, whatever you want to call it, we've all fallen victim to it. Or some semblance of it, I'm sure. This story, this unfortunate tale about a young man and his ill-fated fast food, is one produced by lived experience. My lived experience. It takes place mere inches past my teenage years. I was fresh from basic training and residing on base in southern Ontario. Being new to the Army, I rarely bucked routine. This included me.
I remember this. This is when I read stories thinking sort of old school, you know how they used to record on tape, right? So you only had so much tape. So I used to try and record all of my story in one go, instead of realizing that I can pause, that I can cut things out, that I can fix things, that I can splice things. And so this was me staring at a piece of paper and just trying to read the whole thing all at one time.
Monday, chicken. Tuesday, roast. Burnt, but roast. Bless those cabbies. Putting up with our obnoxiously loud and slurred colloquies while driving us back to the base every single weekend. On our way back, somebody had broken through the noise of competing voices and made mention of getting some food. Great idea. Mike was up front with our godsend of a taxi driver, and Boissonneau said with angelic tone, finally able to swallow and respond, I informed them both that the night was good and a success, as evident by the sloughing McChicken in my hand.
Yeah, so I don't want to spoil the story. So if you haven't read A Medic's Mind, go pick that up and check it out, because it's pretty great. I mean, for other people, it wasn't great for me because, oh man, that was embarrassing. That was 20. Okay, let's go to 2020. Here we are, 2020. Let's see what we got here. Just chatting. Oh man, okay. This is an episode I did with Pragmatic Paramedics. They're Jason and Aaron. They're out in the United States. I believe Aaron got a little mad at me because of politics, and he deleted me from all of social media, and we haven't talked since. But he's a great guy, and a really great paramedic. And Jason, stellar guy too. This was a really fun episode to do. Let's see.
Give or take 2.5 years, almost 3 years of training when you sign up to become a medic. And then yeah, you're fully civilian qualified, and we kind of do things differently out here. Like in Canada, every province has their own standards, so you have to try to justify or try to really help lexicon for something.
Just give the listeners some perspective about the differences between do you guys have like EMT basics and EMT intermediates and paramedics,
yeah.
or how's that set up?
So the way our system works is, to be an entry level paramedic, you go to school for 2 years, and you come out of school as a primary care paramedic. And primary care paramedics are, I guess, like your EMT A, I guess, or EMTI, or whatever you would call it. Like we can give IVs, we can give like certain medications, sometimes some pain medications, like non-narcotic pain medications, Gravol, stuff like that. And then the advanced care paramedic is an additional year of school.
It's fun. This podcast is great because it helps me reach people that I never would have ordinarily connected with. So like, for example, Jason and Aaron there. I met with a guy named Nick Kynette. He's also in the States, and he's a stand-up comedian now. Freaking hilarious. If you get a chance to search him online, do that. Nick Kynette. That's Kynett. Hilarious. And it's so fun to watch him do his things. Finding laughs. This is all 2020. Mom said yeah. Mom said yes. This episode, it was kind of me talking about Sheena, because around 2020, that's when I moved back to British Columbia, to be with Sheena and the girls, and kind of begin my life here in British Columbia. So that was 2020. Here's 2021. Man, there's a new book sample chapter. Interesting. I think this was from the book that I've pulled from the markets now. Let's take a listen here and see what this one is.
You're listening to the Medic's Mind podcast. To keep with my publisher, no animosity, no previous publisher. It is now rounds, because there is always another way. Please. It is, but only part.
Oh, here we go. This is when I started adding music to stories.
It's not just about the grief for unresolved torment. Though those things exist within the threading of this prose, I would rather you think of this as a story of hope. Unconventional, sure, but hope all the same. You see, hope sort of exists on a spectrum. Before this book was ever conceptualized, and many years before whatever day you're...
You know, one thing I take away, even just in the story thing here, if you listen to that first episode that we did, you could hear the weight in my voice. just the drain of being tired, of being depressed, of living a harder way of life. And fast forward a few short years, long days, short years, and there's way more buoyancy to my voice than what there was in those earlier episodes. And even this, when I'm just reading this passage, I remember this passage. Speaking about hope is something that's really important to me, because for a long time I felt like hope was impossible. It just wasn't in my cards. And if it had not been for a very skilled and patient therapist saying to me one day, if you can't believe in hope, believe in those, or if you can't believe in yourself, believe in those that do. And if you can't find hope, believe in those that hope for you. And I've carried those words, because some days, I don't think very highly of myself. And so I have a hard time giving myself compliments, or accepting compliments, or accepting any sort of good thrown my way. And so I like to speak about hope, because I know that there's a lot of people out there that are at different stages of their journey that probably struggle with hope as well. And because hope is it's a hard one to struggle with. I mean, it's really something that and if you're anything like me with a predilection of self-deprecation, hope can really seem far away, seem far off. And so it became really important to me, and it is something that still is interlaced with the things I speak about today, is hope. And I remember this chapter specifically. This is the intro to my book that is now no longer on the markets. Maybe I'll talk about that some other day as to why that's the case. But the publisher was just a little dicey. This is why you got to do your research before you publish with somebody. But anyway, yeah. So hope is still something I talk about very frequently in my podcast and stuff like that, because it really is such an integral part in my growth and in my my self-betterment. If you look, this is where I started changing thumbnails here, thinking that might help generate more listens into the podcast. So this is where I started kind of adding unique thumbnails to the podcast. This is 2021. Here we are into 2022, still doing the things here. Oh man, no, this story, man, this is one of my favorite episodes ever. How I Met Your Mother, kind of. I think it was like 2012. Drew and I, my best friend Drew and I, he's kind of second in frame here. So it goes Carter Bays, Drew Litke, Craig Thomas, Matthew Heneghan from left to right in the thumbnail. Drew and I went to New York because we both loved the TV show How I Met Your Mother. It was just something that spoke to us. We loved it. And we decided one day to go to New York. And Drew is a methodical trip planner. He knows, he just has this gift of finding the cool things to do in any place that you go and visit. And he found the bar that the television show was based on, like the bar in the show. He found the real bar that it was based off of. And in the TV show, it's called McLaren's. In reality, it's called McGee's Irish Pub. And so we went to New York and we found this pub, and we're sitting there one night getting some drinks, and we got quite drunk. And these guys were sitting beside us talking about the show. They were talking with somebody else, and we kind of overheard them talk about the show. So we interjected ourselves into their conversation. Turns out it was Carter Bays and Craig Thomas, the writers of How I Met Your Mother. They created the show. And we sat there and got drunk with them all night. And I was telling Craig Thomas my relationship woes at the time, because I was dating Satan. And so I was telling him, about the issues that I had in that relationship. And it was such an amazing time. And the following couple of days went by, Carter Bays actually booked us into a restaurant, a really fancy one. They paid for everything. They paid for us to have a Wellington and a steak and all these things. And everything was taken care of. And then we took a cab, also paid for, to go to the oldest pub in New York City, McSorley's old ale house. And what a cool thing that was. It was an amazing trip. So this story, I don't really talk just about the trip. I wrote a story about the trip. And
the door, you are met with a warm hue that coats the place. Wood trim and tan ceilings with low-hanging lights that feel elegant but not overdone adorn the inside. A place that feels like home, even before taking your seat. I was no longer the only one smiling. Drew was brandishing his $1 million
Love you, Drew.
ear to ear now as well. There were so many subtle nods to the show within the place. Booths with red backing and dark oak frames. A prodigious mural scrawled to an entire section of wall. A mural featured in the show. Being in that place was a surreal and jovial experience.
it was such a cool time, man. What a wicked life experience to have. Something that I think about from time to time. Like it just hits me in a really good way. I think about that trip. I wish that I was sober for that trip. That's the one regret that I have, is that I was as drunk as I was, not just that night, but just in general for that whole trip. Alcohol was sort of the motivating factor behind that trip, as in like we got to go to a pub, go here, go there. Trying to scroll up here. This is 2024. So last year. Okay, last year. I did an episode here that did really, really well. It's Understanding PTSD, Insights into Invisible Trauma, a Medic's Personal Journey. This was an episode given to me, the idea was given to me by my therapist, and basically helping other people understand what PTSD is, because, you know, it's one of those things that's really hard for some people to understand. And I found that this was a really good way of being able to kind of highlight to people what PTSD is.
You know, the aspect of
new microphone,
battling back against those things, of utilizing tools such as a sage sniffer I have to combat some smells and tastes and things. You know, you go through something, they fire a trigger. It's unpredictable. You weren't thinking about it. You could have just been enjoying your day, walking down a beautiful sidewalk with the sun gleaming off of the windows, and it's a beautiful day and you're enjoying the moment, but all of a sudden you smell something like decay.
Yeah. This episode did really, really well. It's probably one of my top performing episodes, which it makes me feel great, because it makes me feel like people, you know, shared it with their friends and shared it with their family and shared it with people who they felt needed to hear it. And so, pretty proud of that episode. And in this episode too, hopefully it does well. You know, idea given to me by somebody very important to me. So that was last year, 2024. That was February. That was the day before my birthday, February 2nd, right before my birthday. I released that episode. Interesting. Look at this. This is funny. Look at the name of this episode in relation to what I'm talking about. Transforming a Medic's Mind, Personal Growth, Podcasting Tips, and PTSD Recovery.
Medic's Mind to exist. And I think I had to wrap my head around that. I think I had to come to a point in my life where I said, hey, I'm more than just being a medic. I may possess a medic's mind. It's my mind. That's my mind that I'm talking about. It's my mind that I'm discussing and sharing with the world. And just as minds do, they evolve and they grow, and my life experience has evolved.
This was a precursor. I didn't know it at the time, but this was a precursor to my changing a medic's mind over to the unwritten chapters. Originally it was a medic's mind, and a lot of the stories were centric on my time in service, both military and civilian. And then as things progressed and I went through therapy and I went through rehab and I met a girl and I moved, it became evident to me that, you know, yes, I'll always have a medic's mind. It'll always be my mind, because that's what it originated as, it was my story. But in order to make it more broad, I started thinking about life in general and just little things that we say to each other, and how life is still unwritten. And I started going, hey, you know, unwritten chapters. That's kind of interesting. because that sort of talks about what lies ahead. And this podcast has now evolved into kind of just me talking about life, talking about the good, the bad, the ugly of my life, and the successes, the trials, tribulations, and failures and progresses. And so that's why it evolved from A Medic's Mind into the unwritten chapters. I kept the little ambulance motif there because I felt like that was a good nod to where the podcast originated. But this was the first episode where I really started having those thoughts about changing over A Medic's Mind into something else. That's funny.
And so there's a rebranding taking place in A Medic's Mind. The podcast name will remain A Medic's Mind, but I think
no, it won't. You were wrong. No, it won't.
Thumbnail needs to reflect that. Right now, it's very heavily medic-centric, and not all these stories have anything to do.
That's funny. That's pretty great. Oh man, what a trip. So yeah, that was last year. That's funny. 2024. Here it is. College stress final season. Interesting. 2025. Now we're up into January 2025. Man, so if you go back and you listen to this episode, you're gonna see just the weight of my voice is gonna change. Not just like in quality of microphones, but you're gonna hear the tonality in my voice change. I also speak a little less like William Shatner doing a podcast, but I really have grown. There's been a transformation, and this podcast has been a really big helping point with that, because it helps me dissect the things that I go through. It helps me go back and listen to the things that I'm grateful for, to relive past successes and things like that. So if there's anything that I could pass on to anybody, is if you've ever thought about starting a podcast, do it. I didn't know anybody that was going to listen to my podcast. I thought maybe my buddy Martin might, and my buddy Danny, but it has grown into a podcast where I've amassed over 63,000 total downloads since 2018, which is very modest, but it's still mind blowing to me that I've had that happen. When you think of it in turn, I saw a cool thing on social media the other day, and it was like, when your episode only gets 300 listens, and it showed a sad face, and then it says what a room of 300 people looks like, and it showed a public speaker in a room of 300 people, and that was huge. And that really helped contextualize things for me, and it helped me go, hey, you know what? Yeah, that's pretty incredible, right? When you reach 300 people per episode, like that's mind-blowing. Even if you reach 20 people, if you put a picture up of one person and 20 people in a room, that's still huge, right? And so it's incredible to me that I've had you guys come along on this journey with me, and you've really helped me grow as a person, and you followed along with my journey to grow as a person. And so I really am grateful to each and every one of you for that. And sharing your story is important. Sharing your story is so important. I've had so many connections with people that I never would have met otherwise, simply just by putting myself out there and sharing my imperfect life. And it's incredible, the relationship that I've met created with people, the incredible people that have come into my life, and the toxic people that have fled from my life, both with respect to personal growth and podcasting. So yeah, this tool is something I'll probably use until I'm unable to do it, or until they change things and it becomes too expensive or whatever. But this is definitely something that I would recommend. If you've ever thought about doing it, just do it. Clearly you don't need a good microphone. I started out talking into a potato, and it seemed to work just fine, and it still got me to 63,000 downloads. So don't think you need the best equipment and stuff like that. Like, I got this was my dream microphone. It took me a few years to kind of rationalize buying it, because I don't monetize this podcast. I don't want it monetized. I'm not looking for sponsors. I'm not looking to have it be, Joe Rogan's not in trouble. Okay, is what I'm saying. This podcast is just for me. This is a form of therapy for me outside of actual therapy, and so I hope that today's episode can help you find your own version of podcasting, because we all need something, and we all need to be told that it's okay to grow and move on from people and to move into better versions of ourselves, because, well, quite frankly, that's life, and that's what we do. So thank you for joining me on this episode of Unwritten Chapters and following along on my journey. I will definitely see you on the next one. And yeah, you guys be well, be safe, take care of each other, keep talking. Bye-bye.
All we need is a place to be and a few good friends for some company. If you'd like to stay, you don't have to leave. We'll leave the lights on and the door unlocked. If you drop on by, you don't have to knock. We're happy to share whatever we've got.